All right. Yes, excellent. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, the sound effects guy, the one and only the sound effects guy, the definite article sound effects guy. Pilar. Hello, Stephen Lawless. All the awesome folks are here. We've got Eric. Back from, I don't even know when the last time you were on stream.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
2 or 3 months, maybe. Yeah.
We got James. Actually, everyone here is kind of a rare gem right now. Yeah. James, I don't know, the last time you were on.
It was a while back.
Was it? Yeah. It was like before you had work.
It was before I had work, then I had work, and then I don't have work. So yeah, I know you're gonna have to be more specific. That's kind of a yeah.
Remember the six times I didn't have work?
And Brian.
3 times for me. 3 times.
You know, Brian, I tried to. I started trying to make like a goof edit of that clip that you showed of the ride-in with Ritas.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna be like. Because it's like Brian Fuller runs like the world's best auto shop or whatever, and I was gonna do like composer, and just sort of like dub over.
Yeah, dude, that was the weirdest thing, man. When I heard that, I was like, someone is punking me.
That's great. I wonder if they just like searched.
Dude, I'm gonna find out. I am gonna find out who that music supervisor was, and I need to know this before I pass away. It's just one of those things. The odds of that are almost like probably less than getting hit by lightning 4 times.
So people who aren't aware, Brian Michael Fuller got a music placement in a show called Ride-In with Norman Reedus, starring Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
It was like a visit to the shop or something like that, or it was like a call out.
I think it was one of their guys that, it's a show where they renovate bikes and cars and stuff. And one of the experts they were interviewing was named Brian Fuller. So the whole snippet was about Brian Fuller, and they're like, for decades, Brian Fuller, and it was about this dude that's way cooler than me. He's like tatted up and stuff. And I guess there's a shop in California called Fuller Motors, and he does all these high-end, high-client renos. And my swag rock music's playing underneath, and I'm like, the music supervisor, whoever edited that, had to have seen my name and said, "Whoop, they gotta use this." Thinking nobody will ever know. So I'm gonna complete the loop. I'm gonna find this dude, and we're gonna chat because I gotta know.
Yeah. And hey, great advice out there for anyone who's trying to break in. Just be named the same as
someone else.
Someone else in the show.
Yeah, seriously. Well, there's like 3 Brian Fullers. One is like a huge writer. One is like writes like big movies or something. Oh, yeah. So that's why I started using my middle name, actually, Dan.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. But I get thrown off because I finish it with Bendis, because I used to be into comics for a really long time. And Brian Michael Bendis is like a famous comics writer.
A lot of good people with my name. I'm just trying to get the table scraps.
Yeah. Well, Brian Fuller spells it with a Y. That was actually because I was searching around.
Good for him.
Clip. Yeah.
We can't all be perfect.
That's right. Can't all be about I.
There's no I in Brian, Dan.
Yeah. Like Steven says, you gotta track this Brian Fuller guy down too, because you're like name brothers or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe there's some licensing opportunities, cross pollination,
or at least some lawsuits.
So how's everyone doing? How's everyone doing in game audio land?
I'm great.
How's everyone doing?
Yeah.
You're still probably monsters, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I'm, but it's not always great. it's sometimes it's great. I mean, my job at my company is great, right? But before that, I was laid off twice. Yeah. So it's like there's these mountains and there's these valleys. So I just want to encourage anybody out there who's going through the layoff. Listen, the next stage of life might be your greatest stage, right? And this is just the beginning. So hang in there.
Hey, Alex, welcome. Oh,
we got 5.
Yep.
Tactical reload of my diabetes real quick. Don't mind me.
Doing drugs on YouTube, you're gonna get us banned.
It's not. I check not for kids, so we should be good.
So we can do pretty much anything, right?
We should be fine.
There's kids with diabetes. This is education.
Unfortunately.
Type 1 specifically. How's everyone doing?
We were just talking about that, actually.
Alex, your audio is a little low, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
You need to be closer to my mic.
It's mic placement.
Whoa. SM7B.
It's
off axis a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, you were just demonstrating that off-axis rejection. That's real nice. There's like a little bump from Shure, like a little kickback.
Wait, is that a pro for that mic, or I guess it could be.
Yeah, off-axis rejection for like a vocal mic. Yeah, it's always
okay.
A dynamic vocal mic. Yeah, then you're not listening to the monitors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at how directional.
Off-axis.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I think you're faking that, though. I think you're.
What?
Skeptical about the shootouts.
Yeah, getting kickbacks.
I saw where everyone was taking Dan's post on LinkedIn and then like sharing with thoughts. And I don't know if y'all saw mine. I said, I made soup. Should I eat it on stream or not?
You know what? I tried to respond to it. But the thing is that LinkedIn does this thing where you'll get a notification if someone posted like a comment or something. And then when you click on it, you can't see the comment.
Bro, I legit thought you were going to say LinkedIn has this thing that, like, when you have soup on the internet, like, someone like AI bleeps it out or something. Like, that's what it felt like. The chain of conversation felt like it was going, Dan.
Yeah. No.
That was hilarious.
No, the AI replaces it with spaghetti.
But then I decided I wanted more. So I have a second bowl of soup.
That does not look very liquidy, I'm just telling from this angle.
Like a chicken in there.
Well, it was soup, but then I wanted rice, so I made a bunch of rice and then poured it in it, so then it kind of soaked it up. So it's like an amalgamation. I'm hungry and today was long.
Nice.
Survival meal.
Every meal is technically a survival meal, right? Like this.
That's true.
Right? You just stop. It's trouble.
Actually, that's a good point, Dan.
You can't afford not to eat.
That's true. You can go like 40 days without food. And then you're a goner.
That depends on how much you got in reserve.
Okay, 47 days. Good time.
Brian Michael Fuller is not a nutritionist. Don't take his word for it.
But I do like food.
Yeah, I've never tested that 40-day theory, so how can I be sure?
You could start now.
Yeah, that's right.
What
That's
are we
not
talking
gonna
about
happen.
tonight? Besides food.
Besides starving down.
Well, so I don't know. I was kind of bummed today. Actually, I kind of didn't sleep very well last night, and the seeing the Microsoft layoffs. We knew they were coming. They said they were coming, but it's a lot. It's a lot of people.
Wait, were there layoffs today?
On Monday, 1,600 people.
Oh yeah.
And 1,600 more promised, basically, over the next fiscal year.
Well, then you also have to consider all the outsourcing folks that are also going to lose their projects at some point.
Yeah, I don't think contractors are rolled into that. And the same way as because they released a bunch of studios, like Double Fine is now on their own, Undead Labs is now on their own, and others. There's a great infographic someone posted. It just sort of looks how broad and widespread it is, and those aren't counted in the layoffs either. So it's the impact is actually significantly more. That's going to be greater.
Yeah.
So
well, and that's on top of layoffs from last year as well, which are we're still seeing repercussions of, right? That's there's still a lot of people that were laid off last year and earlier this year that are still not finding work. So this is
and that's sort of the frustration, not to take away from what the people who just got laid off are feeling, but
for sure,
anyone who right now is looking for work, myself included. It's compounding the impact of our previous layoffs in a sense that there's so many more people talented in the pool. The demand is low right now. So, and I think a lot of, and what I'm going to be talking about, at least what I'm going to be sharing is somewhat my journey and trying to grow my skill set a little bit more. And I feel like there is, everyone's going to be kind of in a different financial situation. I was lucky enough to have some savings. So that's when I'm coasting on savings right now, which is not great, but I can, spend some time trying to work on these skills. But it is a real strange moment, especially if you've been a lot of people I've been looking at LinkedIn stories, a lot of folks who are at ZeniMax for a long time now laid off, and it's rough to see because that's such a huge chunk of our life that we've sort of invested in that employment scenario, and it's hard sometimes, I think, to pivot, feel like you can pivot, especially if you're really locked into your career. But there is also an opportunity if you can take it to sort of check in. Was this even what you wanted to do? Sometimes you're at some place for so long, you're in a flow. And I don't know. I'm just so it's been weighing on my mind. I've been trying to raise my mood today, just trying to in prep for the stream, because I like to be upbeat, and engaging with other people. But it's been a strange.
It could be a sad stream.
Yeah, I don't want it to be a sad stream. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, I don't think it has to be sad. I think the reality is, for a lot of us, we our income is so important, right, to our lives, paying our bills, support. All of us, we love what we do, but we do it for money, right? Because you have to make money to survive and to pay your bills and to support your family. So we're all chasing these dreams of being game devs and artists and stuff. But ultimately, what we want to do is support our families, whether that's, a family of 6 like me or 2 cats, whatever it is, whatever your family is. But I also think that life is it's like a roller coaster, right? There's challenges, there's ups and downs, and I think the whole world has experienced. COVID. Let's be honest, COVID it changed everything, right? There was everyone was being hired for a once in a generation boom, right? There was a rapid expansion with the pandemic and all this stuff, and so we kind of got this false sensation of this plethora of abundance. And I think now the whole world is shifting back to reality, and it's hitting a lot of people hard. But the thing I keep telling people is just remember, a layoff has no reflection on you as a person. Yeah. A layoff has no reflection on your talent, on your gifts, on your dreams in life. It's just something that happened at a particular in time for various reasons. And I just like to encourage people to not take it personally, right? Look at it as a challenge, but your value isn't in that, right? Your value is way bigger than what you do for money. It's tough and it sucks. And I can say that because I've been laid off twice. I've experienced it twice, and it sucks. But I do know that there's always like light on the other side.
Yeah. I mean, the COVID thing's interesting, right? Because yes, there was kind of an upswing in the industry, but it wasn't like unpredictable that it was going to end, right? Like,
you would think.
It's not like anyone could have said, "Oh, wow, yeah, this we're just going to keep making exponentially more and more money forever." It's like, so on the one hand, it's like, yes, there was kind of like a windfall there for a moment, but I think the problem is that folks just think that's going to keep happening, and I think we probably would have seen layoffs regardless because of that kind of like there was a big hiring boom, and then at some point that's got to kind of fizzle out. But I think rather than kind of responsibly looking at like what was changing in the industry, I think people are just doubling down. And now at this point, it's kind of like, all right, well, let's take all of our money and throw it at AI. Close down all the studios.
Yeah, the perfect storm, right? Really bad timing.
Yeah. Let's pick another terrible investment and throw all our money at it.
Yeah, I feel like, and I'm not deep into economic calculations, but I feel like we're like the 2023, even maybe a little bit of 24 felt more like the tail end of the COVID boom and contraction based on that. And I think what we're seeing here is, especially with like the Microsoft thing, I feel like, I don't know this, but I feel like this is more a part of the conflate or the intersection of a business who only sees growth as the positive part of the, like, only wants growth. Like stability is negative, and I feel like we've hit a saturation level in terms of of video game audience. Like there's no untapped demographic for video games, I don't feel anymore. And if there is, it's like a very small niche group, and we're seeing a move from in terms of audience engagement from video games specifically to short form video entertainment, and people are just playing and buying less games. And I think that like this, like a lot of what the Microsoft sort of situation, I'm guessing, speculating, it was related to their expectations in terms of building intellectual property for the Game Pass, and then failing to see growth in that huge investment that they've made. I mean, they like the Blizzard, the AKB acquisition was massive.
Yeah.
And for them to say, I think it was something like, it's there's like over $1 spent from $1 reaped or something like that was the new CEO said something. I forget exactly what
64 cents. They lost 64 cents for every dollar. Yeah.
Yeah, but in a year where they spent billions acquiring new companies, like it, I think that's some BS. That's my feeling about that. I think that's BS. A lot of AAA game development is a long-term investment. And you can't really measure year by year, especially in a year where you acquired like one of the biggest game companies in the U.S. So, yeah, I don't know. That seems a little suspicious to me. But I don't work for Microsoft, so I don't know anything about that. That's kind of why I can talk about it, though.
A lot of people don't now, unfortunately.
Wow, too soon.
No, but it's like you got. Listen, here's the reality. You got to laugh at it and move on. Because like it's like life throws you a curveball, and you just gotta mourn and grieve, and then go freaking get it, man. Go. What's the next thing? Because the next thing might be way better for you than the thing you were in. I mean, shoot, dude. I had a friend that worked for, I won't even say the name of the company, but hated every hour of it for like 5 years, and finally quit. Gave up a huge income, gave up all kinds of stuff, but he just mentally was dying, man, like depressed, and like after that, it's like he became a brand new person, was excited about life. Not saying everyone hates their job, but the reality is sometimes life makes decisions for you, right? It's painful as it is, but especially in this industry, you just got to know it's not a reflection on you. I know when I got laid off, my first thing was like, man, people are gonna think like I'm just not good at this, and blah blah blah, and that's real, because we already have imposter syndrome, right? Every single one of us probably. I know when I'm composing music for games, I'm like, this sucks, dude. This is gonna be the last song I ever write. They're gonna find out I'm a fraud. They're gonna find out I'm terrible. I mean, seriously, right? That's how we feel. Yeah. And then you get through it and you do it and you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. And so we already are up against the 8 ball emotionally as artists, most of us as artists. Eric, I don't know how coders and programmers think, but I'm sure you struggle with imposter syndrome too. And it's real, man. The pain is real and the hurt is real. But that's why I tell, hey, network, man, get to know people, build relationships with people, and try to stay positive, because the storm will pass, right?
Yeah.
Well, what does that look like? So what is? Because I don't have a lot of faith.
Lightning strikes in the ground.
I don't have a lot of faith in like the big AAA companies at this point to pull their shit together, right? So what is? I've got thousands of people looking for jobs right now, right? Thousands of really talented people, and you would think, well, God, that just means there's just going to be 100 new studios that are going to be making awesome things. But like, what does that actually look like? I mean, you would think that, except for the fact that the people that get laid off are generally going to be like ICs. They're not the business devs, right? So, you might know a ton of really great artists and sound designers and game designers and all that kind of stuff. But like, without someone to put together like the business side of things, like, I don't know if that actually happens.
I think the future is uncertain, right? But it always has been. It always has been uncertain. I think I always tell artists, this is what I do personally. I'm only speaking for my diversification creates resilience, right? Like if you only look at yourself as an audio person, or like, I'm a sound designer, or I'm a composer, or I'm a programmer, or I'm an editor. If you only wear one hat, you will pigeonhole yourself and you will reduce opportunities. But in today's market, in today's world, you got to do everything. Not just everything in games, but like you have to like build your brand and build your identity around content. Like Dan's not just an audio programmer. He also writes music. He's a sound designer. He has a YouTube channel. All of sound effects guy who's in our chat room right now. He has a YouTube channel. So it's like, you got to have these pillars of opportunity, and these flows of income are even better, right? To diversify, so that when one of those little pillars crumbles, like Dan, he said he's living off his savings. He's a smart dude, right? A lot of people don't save money because they think it's going to last forever. So it's like approaching your life with these pillars of I do this, I do this, I do this, and constantly try to move forward, so that when one pillar crumbles, you can pivot over to the next pillar and try to rebuild. So I think being open, man, being open to opportunities, exploring new opportunities. I just got into games like 3.5 years ago. Like, I'm an idiot, right? Like, hey, I'm going to get into the most volatile industry in the world. But it's like, that's not all I do. I do other stuff too. So it's just like a constant, and most audio people are like that anyways. They do tons of stuff, right? But I think not being afraid to try something new. I mean, there's a lot of, I know people are getting laid off like crazy, but if you look around LinkedIn, there's also a lot of job openings available right now too. And it's hard to get, it's competitive, but there's hope, right? But I think, it comes down to those relationships, man.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those job openings there's a decent number of them, but I mean, not as many as obviously all of us would like, but so many of them are just, it's like, this is an on-site job halfway across the world. And who wants to do that? Who wants to move? And especially who wants to move for a job that might just go right, like in a month.
Yeah.
It's, I mean,
and I'm pay bands have been dropping.
Jobs. That I'm not super surprised at.
I mean, but what I'm getting at,
overinflated for a while, but at least in North America, but.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is like you'll see these jobs where it's like on site in the most expensive city in the West Coast,
right? LA. I'll get a $50,000 raise.
Like you got to live at least an hour and a half away from this to take that salary pay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That is a new thing, though. I mean, Dan said, it feels like COVID's over. I would respectfully disagree. I think COVID has changed so much stuff about our culture. I mean, being in, I spent a lot of time in the food and beverage industry. One thing I've noticed is restaurants and customer service has tanked so freaking hard in our country. Every restaurant you go to is understaffed. Food you get is not good. Big Macs are $12. It's like all of this stuff is a result of this massive global pandemic we went through. And so it's like, just our whole culture has changed right now. And I'll tell you right now, when 4 years ago, 5 years ago, or let's just say before COVID, finding a dream job that was remote was a very rare thing, right? Like a very rare thing. Like I always grew up like, if you want a dream job, you got to go get that thing. If it requires me to, if I got to move to Texas or if I got to move to Tennessee or whatever to get my dream job, I'm going to take that risk. But now every mentality has changed as well. So everyone's like, oh, I should have a remote job doing what I love, making $200,000 a year. And it's just not realistic, right? It's like, so I think we have psyched ourselves out and it takes time to recover from that.
Somewhat. I would say the remote thing, like pre-pandemic, that was a heavy lift. But the fact that we all did it for years and the infrastructure is there now.
We built that.
Collectively, the industry basically said, nope, let's just go back to in person.
Like Zoom sucked at the start of the pandemic.
It had to
be
good.
We've got the tools now, right?
Yeah, we built like one of the things that Epic did, right, was like a cloud DDC, right? Like migrating everything to the cloud and making it distributable across remote workers. Like we built the infrastructure to do game development anywhere in the world.
But I think that perspective favors the employee.
Yeah,
I don't think it, because let's be honest, if you owned a company, and I've had a few companies and hired people. If I had a choice between hiring 6 people that all lived around me that we could get together every day and hiring 6 people that were all over the world, I would want to hire the 6 local people. Right? Because if I owned the company, it was my money. Because I think there is this mindset of people who spend millions and billions of dollars. It's like, it is a massive paradigm shift to just hire all remote. And I don't think that, I think that the remote thing exists and I think it will still flourish over time, but I think it's going to be a smaller percentage. I mean, I speak now, I work for a company where there are very few remote people, actually, a few hybrid people as well. But I do think that that's a kind of like a mental preference for company owners. And I think large corporations that have been doing business for 70 years, they are not comfortable having all these remote employees, especially if they can get the same person. I mean, the market determines it, right? If there's 1,000 people available for a role, one of them's going to be like, yeah, I'll move there. So it's supply and demand as well. So it's such a tough market to navigate right now.
It's worth noting, though, for everyone at home, that if Brian was working in the office, he'd live near me. We would be neighbors.
Bro, dude, we would have probably went to the World Cup game together.
You're completely across the country from the studio that you work at.
Actually, no, the studio I work at is actually in Texas. But yeah, the headquarters is in Seattle.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what, if they said, hey, we need you to move to Dallas, and it was the right move for my family, I would totally do it, right?
If you had to move here, the cost of living would be completely different.
Oh, I'd demand a raise.
Yeah.
I would demand a raise.
But that's what I mean about the pay bands.
Money talks, right? Money talks.
Well, yeah,
right?
but that's what I'm saying. Like move to Santa Monica for $140K. Like that's like you're gonna.
I'd be like, no thanks. Yeah, no thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You'd be spending 2 hours each way in traffic.
Yeah. Well, I could work at Amazon and make 85 right here in my own backyard. So why would I do that, right? So at some point, it's kind of like it's not worth the money, right? It's just not. It's not a good financial investment. But if you said, hey, I'll pay you $250 to move, and I could guarantee like 12 months severance, that's a pretty
You're
solid.
not going to get that though. That's
Yeah.
Well, hey, listen.
those are the offers on the table.
No, but okay, you say that. I've had 2 jobs where I've been able to negotiate things similar to that at the beginning, and I'll tell you why. The only time you will get that is when the offer's on the table. Once you say yes and once you commit, that's it, right? It's like, yeah. So, but you do have to know the entry cost, right? Like, what is the cost you're willing to pay to pursue the dream you have, right? And hey, sometimes it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. It's like, shoot, I'll just do game jams, bro, and make games with my friends, and freaking go manage Panda Express for $120,000 a year. Right? Like, so like there's this kind of back and forth. I always wanted to be a film composer, but I never wanted to live in Los Angeles. So I gave up on that dream, right? Like I didn't give up on it, but I tweaked it. I changed because I knew that if I didn't live in LA, I wasn't going to be scoring big Hollywood movies. That's just the way it works. But I also knew I ain't moving my family of 6 to Los Angeles. Not a chance.
When I think like getting into the industry is like one of the biggest like shocks it was to me is like, growing up playing all these games and like dreaming of, I guess studios, but like specifically titles I'd love to work on. And I kind of get older and learn more about those studios and learn more about the culture. And then I had been doing like contracting for mobile games and indie games before I got onto Team Audio. So I've never worked in a studio. My entire career has been wherever I live. And honestly, at this point, being with Team Audio for 4.5 years, my career has grown a lot. I've got a lot of opportunity. Compensation's pretty good. And it almost like terrifies me to, I've basically like remolded what my dream is. And I feel like I'm living it because I'm like, it took a lot because I loved the idea of being in person. And I still get to go in person sometimes. Like, I've been with Riot for going on 3 years as one of my clients, and they'll fly me out. So like I get a little taste of being in person, which is still cool. But at least the thing that gives me solace is like I'm at a place where if we lose a client, which has happened to me twice, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm out of a job. It might mean for like the next 30 days I got to pick up odd things around Team Audio. But if you're in good standing in a place like that and you notably regularly do really hard good work, you don't like lose your job. It's just your pay goes down for a second until something else comes up. I mean, and I don't know, that really took me a while to re-gear my brain to know, like, whatever version of the dream I thought I had, I think I've found my way to it, or it found its way to me, and I just had to realize that over time. I don't know.
That's good, man.
It's weird.
That's good.
I do count my blessings all the time though, because around the time I started realizing maybe the dream came to me, I'm like, I see layoffs happening left and right, and I'm like, Well, if I ever did want to go into a studio, which I still think would be cool, it's just like now I'm terrified. Because like even the biggest ones, like I remember like when like Dan and Aaron, that happened to them. I remember getting on LinkedIn. There was like a discussion at Team Audio. Everyone was like, "What the fuck? Like, what just happened?"
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I thought I was getting practical joked.
Like places I thought were like, safe for at least like really seasoned people. And that's one thing. It's like we just see so much more now. It's not even like associates or like mid-level people. I mean, it can be anyone at any moment, and it's
expensive
like
people. I mean, a lot of the folks that are getting laid off are super senior because they had been working for years. They worked through the pandemic. Everyone was getting raises and bonuses and all kinds of shit. And then the accountants look at it and say, "Oh, well, here, if you cut off all the top level guys, we can save a ton of money, and we'll just throw all that work at the junior devs."
Or not even. I mean, just the same title, but just came in later, so they got paid less. Like, when you're at some place, even if you get sort of incremental, cost of living raises, it can get pretty high after 10 years, 20 years, whatever, how long you're there. And so, and then someone is like, "Well, we've got 2 of these, and one is getting paid half the other, so we know which one we're going to cut." Without any further investigation or interrogation of why. At least that's what I tell myself, because I also
Dan,
suspect...
you're too expensive, bro. You're too expensive.
I also suspect that, there's at least I suspect at Epic there were some filters, because you don't just get rid of some people because some accountant said so. And so there's probably some, fallback where it was like, are you okay getting rid of this person?
Actually,
yes.
You'd be surprised. I mean, companies are dumb enough. They do that. I mean, an accountant comes in and says, "Here are the people you got to let go," and they go, "Okay, that's who we're letting go," because it is. I mean, at the end of the day, you are a number on a spreadsheet, and if you're Dan, it's a big number because you're Dan freaking Reynolds, right? But that's the thing. My buddy Josh is in the chat room. What's up, Josh? He said, "Corporations sell illusion of safety. Nothing is safe." But it's so true. That's why, like, you cannot build your life around a company. You cannot build your life around even your job, right? You get the best job you can. You work it. You do as good of a job as you can. But you always prepare like today's your last day, because that's just how life is, man. And nothing is secure. Nothing is safe. And it's unfortunate, but if you can find your happiness and joy in other places, it would be a really good thing, right? And then while you can milk it, freaking ride that wave and milk that bad boy as long as you can.
And build a good nest for when it does go to shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's a big thing, is like, get the money, have a little fun with it, but also make sure you have a pad in case shit ever hits the fan.
Like, not in case, for when.
For when,
when. It's not
Yeah.
if, it's when, right? That's the reality.
Yeah. So, all right. So I think the last couple of years especially have been pretty brutal. And I think you can definitely see patterns, across all industries and corporations that are, it's like, you kind of see why things are falling apart. So like, what is, with the caveat that no, nothing is ever going to be 100% safe, but what is the method for rebuilding an industry that's in such dumpster fire state, right? So like, if you had the magic wand and you could say, okay, I can create studios, what is the model for those studios to make them sustainable?
Spend less, make more. That's
basic capitalism.
It's basic.
And that's also kind of what got us here.
How much is freaking GTA is about to come out, right? Like,
insane numbers.
Spent, what, 500 crazy billions of dollars right on this.
Yeah.
No matter how much money they make, it is going to be very difficult, because if you took $1 billion and put it in a freaking 401k, every year it would gain like $500 million. So like, it's just at some point, the numbers are just too ridiculous. So I think small scale games, small teams that are really good, really efficient, small scope, get games released. I have so many friends that have worked for years on huge IPs that are never going to come to light. They're sitting on a freaking hard drive somewhere. One of my best friends spent 5 years of his life designing killer VFX no one will ever see. And it's like, you got to get that game out and let it fail or let it succeed and move on. And I think that's going to be the future. It's like, it sounds stupid and basic, but spend less and make more. Smaller prices, quicker games, get them out the door. And then occasionally you'll have the big, huge Call of Duty or Fortnite or whatever. But look at Roblox. My son plays freaking Sharkbite 2. Like with all his friends, they absolutely love it. They spend money. They ask me for money so they can buy Robux. And like, the game is silly. The 5 of us could probably make it right here in a couple weeks. But it's the formula, man. The kids are playing it. They love it. They're investing in it. And so I think it's got to be smaller, quicker, spend less, make more. And then we'll all have jobs.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I would also add to it that I think as a studio, like you should be prepared for what comes immediately after releasing
game
your
number
title.
2. Yeah.
Right. So like game number 1, you're working on it. Game number 2 is an incubation, and you're ready to, as soon as game 1 drops, you're ready to move your team on to game 2, right? And just keep moving back and forth. And they'll have a small team for DLC and live support stuff, but it's like I feel like what I'm seeing a lot of is game releases, does well, whole team's gone, right?
Yeah, right. That's the
trend. And it's like, well, did you guys not think you were going to make another game after this? Why is there no handoff here, right?
Yeah.
So because I mean, honestly, it's like you want to make good games that takes people with expertise, and it takes time, and it also takes time for those people to learn how to work together, right? So it's like. Yeah. If you want to continuously make good games, you can't just be like dumping your team at the end of every game and like rehiring and starting from scratch.
Yeah. I think also there's a problem. No one talks about this, and I probably have the least business talking about this, but I think that no game should take 12 years to make, right? No game should take If your game takes 9 years to make, you freaking overscoped it. But I have found from stories and anecdotes that most of those years are people changing their mind, are pulling back things, taking things out and adding it. And so I think our industry has elevated a lot of the wrong people to high positions, right? Mm-hmm. And they have put, people that are great game designers in CEO roles or leadership roles, and they're not good at that. Right. And so you have these companies that are spending hundreds of millions of dollars, and half of it's wasted because we got halfway through the game and then we turned it into an RPG. And then 2 years later, we turned it into something else. Yeah. And so I think that's what we're suffering from now. So a game doesn't cost $200 billion to make, only if you waste a crap load of money. That's how it costs that much money. You should be able to build a great game for $5 to $10 million.
Yeah. I mean, I think to add to that, like games that take a long time to make, typically you're going to lose multiple people along the way, right? And every time you lose someone, you lose some of that, tribal knowledge, you lose some of the direction, and you get someone new in. And that new person may or may not have the ability to just pick up and run with whatever was going, right? A lot of times folks will come in and say, okay, well, I don't like this, we're going to change this, or I think we should experiment with some other things. And every one of those little things kind of pushes the date out further and further. So it's almost like if you can't get it done in 2 years, then it's pretty much destined to just get exponentially longer and longer as you go.
That's a reasonable contingency.
So, and it shouldn't be the model, but absolutely should not be the model. But I think something that's interesting about Fortnite is Fortnite was in development for 7 or 8 years before it released, and it had like 3 restarts, and it was the equivalent of like the design by committee, and everyone felt like it was going to be a flop when it released, and it was. And the Fortnite that released was what eventually be called Save the World, and it was just the worst. It was like the most confusing. I wish that I could go back and find like the Twitch streamers that all got paid to like play the game when it first came out, because people would come in and be like, "What is this game?" And and they would try to describe it to their audience, and they just couldn't figure out. And I wanted to make like a supercut of all those people like stumbling over, trying to.
I'll be back.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Sorry. See it.
Get more soup.
Yeah, get more soup. And it was like, it's just a super confusing game. And when it was getting close to launch, they wanted to explore other game modes, and they brought in, I think they were pulled from like the Unreal Tournament team or something like that. That was like Unreal Tournament 2017 or whatever. The team like worked out with Epic that they'd be like a siloed team, like a small team, and they made the Battle Royale mode in like 6 months. And just a few months after the release of what eventually became Save the World, the Battle Royale mode came out. And it was like, from a design philosophy, it was a completely different approach, right? Like it was, they took some of the best mechanics that were already in the Save the World, and then they just wrapped them up in like a really tight game loop, and they tuned those matches in like, in my opinion, the perfect length. Like if you watch like a match from beginning to end where someone wins, it's like 24 minutes. Which is like it's like the like universally accepted episode length, right? And it follows a 3-act structure, which is really interesting, and I think makes it really fun to watch. I think that was a huge part of its sort of Twitch success. Is it has a first act where everyone's scrambling and all this sort of stuff, and it's chaotic, and then there's this extended second act, very much like that we have like a Save the Cat sort of story structure. And where the person, the player is traveling to different areas of the map, and there are these skirmishes that are sort of separated by these sort of traveling periods, and they create space for Twitch streamers to talk to their audience. It's really interesting. And then on the third act, when the bubble gets really tight, everything ramps up, gets really climactic, and it's fun to just engage and watch the match. And so I think that there's something, I don't know if we've been trained, over years to sort of like, consume that sort of structure, but it followed it really well. I can't say how much was by design or by accident, but
half and half.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people would claim to be more in the know than they really are. But
it was my idea.
Yeah, exactly. But I think I feel like I agree with you in the sense that the sort of small team structure, and focusing on a sort of tight game loop. Like I remember, I was talking to someone about their game, and I was just trying to understand like that part of the game, and that they were just sort of painting this big picture that was more of like a narrative and plot and sort of backdrop and the world building and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, you don't have a game until you've got that game loop, right? And so that's the thing that has to be solved.
Yep.
And if that form is too long, it gets sort of finicky for people to like stick to it. But so I'm with you on that one. I think that we don't spend enough time and investment in like game design. We spend so much time and investment on graphics. It's insane how much we spend, right? Yeah. Like graphics and the hyper focus on realism, this like hyper focus on animation and performance capture. And like this hyper focus in audio on spatialization and sound propagation and like reverb is like the most mundane.
Bro, I never understood that. It blows my freaking mind, bro. I always tell people, all the reverb you need, Unreal Engine has it already. Like, bro, like no one, there's like 8 people that care about your reverb.
Well, and the whole like, and I mean, not to get too deep in the weeds, but like the drive toward visual realism is like way too noisy. Like visually, it's just too noisy, and performance capture is also extremely noisy, and you always have to get an animator to come in and fix it. And then it's the expression is always dubious. Like could an animator have done a better job? Maybe, probably. Would it have taken more time? Yes.
Yeah.
And acoustic propagation, like has anyone ever walked around and listened to like real life? Like most spaces sound terrible, and there's no reason to believe that game art's like architecture would sound good. It just doesn't. And I think anyone in practice, like I think this was some of the stuff that Coalition ran into on Gears of War when they worked with Project Titan, which eventually became called Project Acoustics. They rolled their own reverb. So they used the propagation modeling and then mapped that to like hand-tuned algorithmic or convolution reverbs. And so like at some point it's about that, like you've got to bring it back to design, you've got to bring it back to the art and the craft,
and the players. Like it's just like music, right? If you do music, musicians are the worst people to critique your music if you're trying to make money, right? If you're trying to, because as musicians you want to critique it as art and all this stuff, and it's like, bro, listen, my son, when I got Hogwarts Legacy, right? We started playing Hogwarts Legacy, which is a phenomenal game. #9 years. But anyways, he skipped the freaking cinematic and almost died. and I'm like, he's like, I don't care about this. He just wants to get to the gameplay. And I'm like, it's a realization. I'm like, son, do you know how many people spent hundreds of hours and how much these cinematics, and he couldn't care less. Yeah. Bro, he just wanted to get to, and I'm like, that's the reality is as artists, we try to artistically judge everything. I mean, Minecraft, like, come on. Like, do you need Lumen? Do you need Lumen for Minecraft? It's like, totally. it's I never understood the appeal, but the kids love it. It's like made like $5.5 billion. And so you're exactly right, Dan. Is it freaking fun? Like, is it fun? Is it addictive? Do people want to play it? And artists cannot be the ones that make those decisions. They just can't be. When I want to know if a song I write is good, I ask my wife. She's not a musician. She's either like, yeah, that sounds good, or that's too loud, or I don't like it. And it's like, okay, cool. That's the average person that's probably going to listen to this. And so, I think that's a struggle too with our industry, is we have too many artists, too many creatives making these decisions when the best thing we need as artists, we need guidelines, we need guardrails, we need boundaries and deadlines. Give us those things, right? And let us do our stuff. But we can't necessarily judge whether it's fun, because we just spent 37 hours working on an explosion, right?
Yeah. Only 37?
Yeah. I mean, like the hyper focus on reality and simulating reality is, man, it's a really interesting tension, because it does, like, audiences respond to those showcases, right? But they don't make good games, and the best-selling games don't look like that, right? Like, that's, with it or without it, they don't look like that. And I don't think artists want it either. To be honest with you, I don't think visual artists are as psyched about. I don't think realism is what drew them into, game art. And I don't think animators wanted to clean up performance capture, and I don't think that that sound designers and mixers wanted to just simulate reality in terms of acoustic propagation. And I think that I mean, I know that there are some people who are interested in that, but I don't think by and large those are the kinds of experiences that drew people into video games. And at least I hope not.
I mean, some people probably, but
some people probably, yeah.
Sure.
And I think that there's still a lot of opportunity for art and craft and implementing that into the experience without impeding gameplay. And I think it comes down to being able to focus specifically on game design.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pong, Pac-Man, Angry Birds. Like these
Right.
games are so addictive and fun, and the loop is so incredibly simple.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it is what it is. But I mean, there's obviously audiences for complex games. There's audiences for all that stuff.
But even complex, so-called complex games, I think are actually just an amalgam of a bunch of smaller games, right?
Yeah.
Like I like Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
I dig it.
It's a great
But
game.
like the combat is its own game. Conversations is its own game.
Yeah.
And exploration is kind of its own game.
Yeah. So you made 3 games, which is why it took 9 years, or whatever, right?
Well, I mean, in that case, right, like their early access period was really long, and they really took feedback from the users into account, right? Like I think there's something that's where you're tuning it to the audience. I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Another interesting thing about especially younger generations just gravitating to stuff like Minecraft and titles that they're not the GTAs, they're not the Call of Duties, they're not like the I spent $500 million making my mustache blow in the wind properly type of thing, right? Like
the most perfect horse ever,
right?
Ghost of Tsushima.
It's like a real horse. Yeah, but I think there's something to be said for that as well, because not only from just like a simplistic, like you don't need all this extra text, like you also don't need the horsepower to run it, right? Like if you're talking about, gaming PCs, right, or consoles or whatever, and like we're always trying to push the limits so we can just get one more hair on someone's head, right? And it's just like, but then you turn around and you see all these games that are like Minecraft, which, arguably just looks like shit, but it's super fun, right? Kids are really, really into it. And
there are 4K texture mods.
Of course there are. But yeah, I guess my point was just, in terms of like wherever the new industry is going to kind of be born out of it, like not chasing that bleeding edge technology, I think is going to be a huge part, right? Not only do you not have to spend a lot of money developing that game, the person who's playing it doesn't have to like take out a mortgage to buy a new GPU so they can run it, right? Like
new Steam machine.
Right, totally. Like, because I mean, all the gaming machines, all the consoles are going up in price. It's like components are just going through the roof. Thanks, tech bros.
Yeah, baby.
I think there's something to be said about why people play games, right? Like that is maybe the crux of it. Like, I've been watching people play Mecha Chameleon as an example of something that's kind of hot right now, and that is like a stupid game, and it just looks like a blast to play with people, especially people right? Like it's, I think people just I think by and large people want to just be entertained, and it's just a form of entertainment that sort of fits in their like gallery of the plethora of entertainment that sort of they're bombarded with every day. I think it doesn't. In some ways, it's a really simple problem. But there is maybe this is what Brian was getting at, is like the artist part of us, because part of what, like, we're in game development not just because we like playing games. Because we like making games, and like the process of making a game is something that is, in its own way fulfilling, right?
Very fulfilling.
And so, and what we want out of that experience is sometimes at odds with what maybe is appropriate for the product. Yeah. And thinking of like as a product versus the thing that we put out, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not so sure it's the artists that are making that decision. I'm sure like artists in general.
I don't mean like the art. I don't mean like the artists,
right?
I don't mean like the visual art team. I mean, I'm talking about like the sort of the like soul of the creator.
Yeah.
In us that wants to make something.
That work at the studio, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But
then,
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Brian.
Well, I was just going to say, and it's a catch-22. It's a double-edged sword. Because then if you put in people, just C-suite people, that are from the business world and know nothing about games, if you swing the pendulum too far that way, then you get what's happening right now, is spreadsheet balances and all this stuff, and all this stuff. So it's like there's got to be like a middle ground in there somewhere where and I think that, getting back to your original question, is that's where the future is. Studios that hire the right freaking people to do the jobs that they're really good at. Yeah. And with boundaries, with proper scoping, with some sense of reality of how much money is worth, instead of just going, a couple $100 million. But really, like, you see it a lot in the film world, like independent films and small budget films, they're all about the budget. This is how much we have. This is what we can do with it. And we're going to have to cut corners, and we're going to have to, now they usually delay their projects like crazy, which is a problem. But, everything's fake, right? Even a release date is like a fake thing. We make it up. Oh, when do we want our game to come out? How's July sound? Yeah, great. All right, it's July. We're just making this stuff up. But if you have proper people managing the teams, keeping a pulse on stuff, where are we at? What are we looking at? And you filter that down in a good organizational perspective, you can get the funding. People will pay for it because people believe in it, right? We all grew up playing games. There's tons of people now who are millionaires and billionaires that love games, right? So the money is there, but managing the money, managing the process is what's got to get better. And you can't just hire people because they're in games or they're great artists. You got to hire the right people, but you can't also just hire some random CEO that used to work for Walmart and now they're going to release a game. So that process has got to change.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think earlier you're saying like there's like the artist turned CEO versus like the dev guy turned CEO, right? I don't know that either one of those is better or worse. I think it's really just whether you're suited for that job or not, right? Do you have that personality?
Yeah, right, exactly.
I will never be a CEO. I have the absolute wrong personality to be a CEO, and nor do I want to be. I think it's probably like the worst sounding job I could possibly think of. Maybe not. I could probably think of some really shitty jobs.
James Nixon Incorporated.
Yeah. You're hired, buddy. When can you start?
Exactly. But yeah, I think, you're right. Like you need someone in there who just has a good head on their shoulders and is able to make those decisions. And I don't know. I think for every failed game company, there's probably a different reason why.
Of course.
Yeah. Why it failed, right?
Yeah, but there tends to be a trend now. Right. And that's the thing. But I do think a lot of it does have to do with our culture in general. For 2 years, no one could leave their house. Right. So video games went whoop, and now nobody wants to be in their house. So it's like, so it's a tough situation that we find ourselves in. But you know what? Like history shows, that's when things usually reinvent themselves and there's another renaissance, right? There's like a new, like I guarantee you in 5 years, we're going to be looking at the whole thing going, oh, that's kind of where it all ended up. This is actually pretty cool where we're at right now. So
I hope so.
Unless AI just kills us all.
I hope it's less than 5 years, but I also feel like there's another 5 year future where it's really shitty.
Yeah. Well, but here's the thing though, games take so long, right? Like, if I started a studio right now, the game's not coming out for at least 2 years, even if we're super fast, right?
Yeah.
Like, So a 5-year cycle is not that long when you're looking in this particular industry, right?
Yeah, right. But I'd be like, we've had layoffs in the last couple of years. So like, we had big layoffs last year. I think 2023 had a lot of layoffs, right? So it's like, in theory, there should be some of those new studios about to drop a new game like any minute now, right?
So, well, they should have already. That's the thing.
Right. Should have, but I don't know that the money is there. I think money has largely dried up in the gaming industry. I don't know that for a fact. I don't have firsthand experience, but that's my impression because I can't imagine how there's not just a glut of new studios after the last couple of years of layoffs.
But that's everywhere, right? Like my grocery bills for the last 3 years have freaking killing me. Like, it's like inflation, and I mean, we still haven't recovered from COVID. Like our supply chains, there's still not enough chips. Like there's just all of these things haven't balanced out yet. We went through a massive thing, and it is, man. It's like things are freaking expensive right now. Go to McDonald's and see if you can get out of there for $15 or less. It's almost impossible. McDonald's, dude.
Yeah.
I used to get out of there for $4. I mean, you don't get a body like mine, eating McDonald's for $15. But yeah, so I do. But you know what? People persevere, right? Like someone's gonna make a game. It's gonna make hundreds of millions of dollars, and people are gonna go, "Ooh, let's copy what they did. What did they do? Oh, Claire Obscure. What did they do? Oh, let's look at that. Oh, let's look at that model. Oh,
they built an entire game with blueprints.
There you go. That's
also the problem, right?
Do it. That's no problem.
That's like the AAA model.
Yeah.
That's the AAA model, right? Where it's just like, oh, Claire de Lune. Jesus Christ. Claire Obscure.
How dare you insult Claude Davis said.
Claire Obscure comes out. Oh, that's an awesome game. Like, how many, CEOs and marketing folks just, started drooling and be like, oh, we should change and make our game that.
All of them.
Right? And it's like, okay, how many battle royales have there been?
Yeah.
Right? I feel like the problem is, the big money that doesn't really know, the big money that lacks any creative vision.
But that's
is always going to chase
the wrong people. You have the wrong people doing the decisions, because a true visionary, a true person that has a vision and a dream and believes in what they're doing, are completely unfazed by that stuff. They celebrate it and they're like, that's super cool. What they did was awesome. But what we're doing is going to work. Yes. And we're going to stay the course, and we're going to get this thing done. And I'm either going to be wrong or I'm going to be right. And and that's what we're going to do. But you don't have a lot of that. You have a lot. Well, we've been working on this for 7 years. We've spent $200 million. Maybe we should change what we're doing. It's like, no, maybe you should just ship a game.
But you also have kind of a type of natural selection going on as well, right? With a smaller indie company, it's kind of like succeed or die.
Yeah.
Right. With a AAA company, it's like, oh yeah, I'm CEO. Oh, that game tanked. Well, fuck it, I still got a job. I'll take a big bonus for that, and
until they
lay off 1,000 people, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like there's not a lot of repercussions at that level for failing, right?
Well, there are, but just not immediate, right?
It's like it's like 10-year repercussions, and by that time you've already,
Yeah. Well, the repercussions are always going to be for the lower level people. The CEO is fine. I'm sure
that's what I'm saying, right?
He might have to sell one of his houses, but whatever. That's his life. That's his priority. And that's why I do. I think I would much rather work for a studio of 40 or 50 people, right? Like that's where the magic is, right? Mm-hmm. Creative people who are bought in and really believe in this thing that we're doing, and I'm fortunate to be at one of those places now where it's like, this is us. We're doing this thing. It's going to be awesome, right? And if it fails, it fails. But you know what? We can't control that. You can't control that. You fail, and then you move on. Life is full of failures, right? But what you don't want to do is never know, because you spent 9 years not doing anything, right?
Yeah.
I have a ton of friends that work for Funcom, and when Dune came out, it's crazy because they spent so much money on this thing, and their marketing's like, hey, it's the greatest game we've ever made, most money we've ever made, everyone's fired. It's just like they spent so much time and money, no matter how much money the game makes, it's not gonna be worth it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could have just put that money in a S&P 500, right, and made more money. So it's just overall just bad management. And if you get the good management in there, I think so. If you're looking for a job, I say that it's like, who's managing the joint? Find out who the manager is. Find out who the CEO is. Look at their career. Look at their resume, and follow somebody who knows what they're freaking doing. Because otherwise, you're just going to be back in the cycle and spit back out whenever it happens.
Yeah. Eric, what do you think?
Eric's in the chat.
No, I am not an industry expert, so I'll defer to y'all. I was a professional freelancer though, before I started at Epic. I did music and hopped from gig to gig, and
fun time.
Going back to what we were talking about earlier with skilling up and just kind of opening more opportunities, or opening yourself to more opportunities, and that was how I ended up at Epic. Was I started learning Unreal and programming and all that stuff came well after I was 10, 12 years into doing music. So yeah, that's kind of my summary of the last hour of conversation. I just keep moving the goalpost, find something new that excites you and go towards that. And
I do think that there is a kind of expectation that is fair in the game industry, which is it's a tech-driven industry, and you should expect to be learning all the time.
Yeah.
Like, stuff is just constantly the landscape is constantly evolving, and in order to keep your feet, you have to be able to adapt to that, and that's just kind of be something that's progressively constantly happening. So yeah,
I smell a segue here.
Oh, hey, a segue.
Wwise plugins.
What? Yeah, people are asking about like Wwise in the chat. So this is kind of a continuation of some previous streams. Speaking of skilling up, this is part of my journey in skilling up. I'd like to share it. I started. Hold on. I started learning computer programming, in high school back in the 90s. Back last century. It was high school, so it was very shallow. And then in college, I did a little bit of computer science. I started going to college thinking I'd get a computer science degree, but I struggled with multidimensional calculus and electromagnetic flux. And those were apparently relevant to computer science.
How could you not know that?
How could I not really take to those subjects? So I ended up getting a bachelor's in creative writing. Why not? And so working at Epic for a while, I wanted to make it kind of a mission to get back into programming, and I got into it, but within the framework of Unreal Engine. And for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with coding for Unreal, it's C++, but it's like it has a lot of stuff in it that is specific to the Unreal Engine.
Nice things, good stuff.
Yeah. A lot of it is centered around memory management, and that's because C#. If you've heard of C#, C# is a managed language, which means that it has like its own built-in system for memory management, garbage collection. C++ is just sort of like freewheeling it. And so because Unreal sort of predates C#, Epic had kind of developed their own scheme for that, which is sort of the U-object hierarchy. And so there's a lot of sort of built-in framework. And what's been kind of interesting for me is, as I mentioned at the top of the show, that I was exploring more audio programmer things. You've seen some of the videos that I've posted. And I'm trying to get back into that more general purpose programming space. And to sort of take what I learned about audio programming or the audio domain in particular into that with me. And I released a plugin for Unreal, initially built inside Unreal. That's Transient Shaper. You can buy it now on Fab. And then someone in the comments on LinkedIn was like, "Can I get it for Wwise?" And I was like,
Sure,
I guess I don't see why not now. Like, I don't work for Epic. I can do whatever I want. This is one of the things, working for Epic was very stifling in some ways. I was very constrained in certain things that I couldn't do or I didn't feel comfortable doing. And when the closer it got to my job at Epic, the less I wanted to do it outside of work. Not just because I was doing that, but because Epic had like a legal recourse to like claim over the things that I made that were part of my job description. So I was like, all right, let's see what it's like. And it's been a very interesting experience. So I wanted to share a little bit of that and some of the mistakes that I've made and the process. But I love the discussion we were having. It was really nice. And I love having you all here. And so that's, I don't know. It's a kind of a hard pivot what we were talking about.
I thought it was very smooth.
But I think there is something to be said. Like, I know we're going to lose some people when I start turning on the code. But I think there's something about like expanding your skill set and exploring, different ways that you can engage in this broader industry that we work in. So,
as outside of the code, Dan, one of the things I would be kind of interested in is like your experience in taking these things to market. Basically, how do you handle getting things in the Fab store? However, you're going to, license things through as a Wwise plugin, things like that. Like,
happy to talk about that. Yeah.
How do you make money?
Do you hear feedback? I just want to make sure because I added the screen of the thing, and I just want to make sure we're not hearing any feedback on this. Can you check?
No feedback.
Cool. So okay. So first of all, like last stream, I kind of explained what a transient shaper effect is, like sort of the fundamentals of the effect. And I walked through a lot of the framework that I'd built, starting with the Unreal implementation, and then sort of walking through like divorcing it from Unreal. So I think one of the things that's sort of speaking of this Unreal framework, right? This coding framework. One of the benefits of working inside of that and delivering things for Unreal is you're using these sort of base types and operations that are wrapped around these higher level types and functions. And what happens is you get this, like, Unreal has this sort of intermediary layer where I say, well, I want like an integer, just like as a simple thing. Like I want to have an integer and I want to be able to use that as a variable, right? So that's a little chunk of memory, right? And so, but the thing is, an integer ain't an integer everywhere. Like the integer is different on different systems. And so what Unreal offers is this intermediary layer where if you participate and use that layer, then under the hood, it'll switch based on the platform This is integer on a Switch. This is integer on a PlayStation 5. This is integer on a Mac. And so you sort of like access things through that intermediary layer, right? And on top of that, I was using functions for processing an array, like a buffer, right? An audio buffer is just an array of floats. It's just a float is a type of number variable. It just has decimals. That's all. That's what the float is, the floating decimal place. And so audio usually represents a decimal value between 1 and -1. That's usually what you're listening to. Or 100% to -100%, right? And that's just your bipolar waveform amplitude representation. And you just have your samples, right? Your digital samples. Each sample is one value, and you have an array of them. And that's your buffer. And so they have all these operations where it's like, oh, I want to scale it. I want to do half. I want to make the amplitude half. So you just multiply the whole buffer by half, right? And that is under the hood. It's optimized because of the way that CPUs work. CPUs, there's like a kind of batch benefit with processors where you can get a set of math operations for the cost of one. Okay, and so, but the trick is they have to be done in a set. So you have to sort of feed them in a set. And then there are different ways you can optimize that process based on the CPU architecture. So it gets really in the weeds, right? And all this stuff comes for free if you use that intermediary layer, which is really powerful because those are optimizations that make your work run faster and cheaper. So that's what I hadn't initially anticipated was that in order to bring this effect to Wwise, I had to remake all that or use Wwise's thing, right? So Wwise has its own intermediary layer as well. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll be clever about this. I'll be smart about this. What I'll do is I'll make my own. And I'll make my own little core of DSP functions that do its own wrapping under some library, right? Some library that I can get for free, basically. And then it will work regardless of the engine. So this is the approach that I took. And I can walk through my implementation. I've got it ready to sort of look at like a high level and to sort of poke things and talk about the process of making a Wwise plugin. And I've also added, if you're on YouTube, I've added links to some tutorials and Wwise documentation if you want to like look at what information is there. But so that was my approach. And what I talked about last week was a sort of a test framework, so I could audition the things that I create without having to, deploy them in Wwise or deploy them in Unreal or deploy them in some audio engine. And I used a very bare bones audio engine called Mini Audio, which you can go check that stream out. There's a bunch of links for all the libraries that I used. And Mini Audio is like a single file audio engine. It's like a super lightweight audio engine. And so I implemented a little test audition system using that and an I am GUI, which is like a bare bones, like no frills UI library. So I use these little libraries to just make like my own little test. And that was sort of like a proving ground that I didn't have to worry about, is it because of how I implemented in Wwise or is it how I implemented in whatever audio engine? So, and then I linked it up. So I built my own little library, and I brought it into the Wwise plugin framework, and I linked it up there and got it working. But there are catches because I'm reacclimating to this like more base level of programming that I'm so out of touch with because I've been working in Unreal for so long. And I'll talk about those. But so that's the premise. Are there questions before I start looking?
Yeah. So when you talk about like kind of the batching instructions and stuff, or does that depend on the actual like CPU architecture? Like, are you going to that like depth? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't know anything about that. And so I'm using a library called Array Math, which has a bunch of array functions, kind of like I was talking about before, the sort of buffer functions. And then also has its own implementation of this, which we call SIMD, SIMD. And so it has a certain coverage of architectures, but I'm thinking about moving away from that and adopting Google has a library called Google Highway, which offers a little bit more CPU coverage. Otherwise, it's the way that they're architected is they fall back to like a mundane way of calculating, and so what's nice is it's a benefit if you are on that CPU. It just runs faster.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. C++. So let's work from the top. Oh, were there any other questions while I make this the bigger? Okay. So here's the effect. We'll just add the effect. It says Transient Shaper Pro, and I'm going to use this default custom instead of creating a preset. And I have this is basically the demo video that I sent out, where I got a little. Can you hear the sound?
Yes.
Drum beat. Yep.
Got a little drum beat, and then I can start processing it, dropping the sustain, adding the attack or dropping away the attack, boosting the sustain. And I can turn analog mode off, and it's sort of crunchier, but it's also like it's much more responsive. And I talked about that a little bit on the stream, and you get real tight isolation of the attack of the drum beat. So this is the effect working in Wise, and all of these parameters have been set up to live update, basically. So one thing that so I'm working backwards now. So here's the Audio Kinetic Launcher, and then here is at the very bottom my plugin with this beautiful icon that you can see here.
I recognize it.
Yeah, and it was installed through the sort of manual add from directory. And let me pull up that directory. There we go. So this is the directory. Oh, I should probably have. Let me. Too little, too late. Get rid of the navigation pane. We'll call it a focus. So this is the plugin directory, the sort of live plugin directory that I've been working out of. The way that you start is when you install Wise, there's a subdirectory that's scripts, build, and then plugins. And then inside of that is a bunch of Python scripts that you can run. And you run this wp.py script. And this is sort of like the main script that you run, and you just tell it which thing to do next, and you just give it basically it'll run one of these other scripts. And so you can use basically that to start out, and you'll see in the I added hold on, where is the there's okay, in the it's a couple of links that I added here. One is a blog by I assume Joel Robichaud. I'm guessing, I don't know. That's my very terrible attempt at a more French pronunciation. Apologies for all the millions of people I offended. This is sort of like a blog about running the scripts and starting up your building your plugin. But what I think is more interesting in the documentation, there's this example of adding a low pass filter plugin. And you can see here the first script that you run is the WPY script as new. And then there are a bunch of arguments that you can add, but if you don't add it, it'll ask you for them. And the only thing that you need is this. Well, it'll ask you which effect. But yeah, this if you have new and then this effect argument, then it'll query for all these other ones. But you can also add them as part of the command, and that call will automatically generate this directory based on the name that you gave it for your effect. So here I have this test effect, which has I guess I did sort of mess around with this a little bit here. So let me. I think this would be kind of cool. Let me see if I can. Let's take a risk and just generate a new plugin here. So I'm just going to open up Terminal, and I'm going to call. By the way, you have to have Python installed. So you just need the address of the Python script, and then I'm going to go new and effect. And then it'll ask me a bunch of questions, and this is out of place processing means are there going to be a different number of outputs than inputs? And I'm just going to say no, and you can see no is default. So if I just hit enter, it'll be no, and then I give it the name, and we'll call it my live stream demo, and then what is the display name? And I could do I could put spaces in there. I guess maybe live stream shouldn't be 2 words. I don't know. Demo. There we go. Dan the Man. A really cool demonstration. And this by default it'll add a unit test infrastructure. I haven't actually messed around with that yet. I'm gonna assume it's cool. And then it sort of asks me to check all the data, and then it has generated a new directory here, my live stream demo, and then inside that, this is all the stuff that it generated basically. So we have a bunch of directories, and then we see this sort of pre-make plugin Lua file. So it's got a Lua script. And then we have some JSON files. One's called bundle template, and one's called additional artifacts. And then you have to see this configuration sort of header file. That's .h is like assumed C or C++. And then inside of these, you'll see. So the Wwise plugin subdirectory has this XML file. And then this set of files that have the name with plugin added to them. And then we have the test stuff that I haven't messed around with yet. And then we have this set under the Sound Engine plugin, which is the C++ that is basically the effect, the factory for creating the effect, the parameters and their definitions and default values, and there's some weird finicky stuff there, and then the what was this again? This shared. I don't know. Well, we'll take a look. I don't think I maybe even had to do anything with that file, so we'll take a look at that.
So it's all the boilerplate that
this is all the boilerplate. Yeah. So it's trying to be real nice. It's this is one of those things that is kind of a challenge when you have all these things that people have to create in order to get this thing working. Okay, so let me bring up my actual project here. Oops, come on. There we go. Okay. So the meat and potatoes all happens here. And what I'll start out with over is this XML file that I mentioned under the, it was the Wwise plugin subdirectory. And this is let me make this a little bit wider. This is basically an XML file which describes the parameters. So you give every parameter a name and the display name, and it's all the sort of metadata around a parameter for its use. So you can see here that I have a UI min and max value.
It's your U property markup.
It's yeah. So if you're familiar with U properties in the Unreal, in like building Unreal plugins, it's very similar to that. But it also defines type, and some of it is display. So the data meaning, for example, I can define it as decibels. I think the other one is frequency.
Like widgets and units and
yeah, so it helps with it's just units. They have some bare bones widgets.
Okay.
And that's part of the stuff that I didn't get into, which is you can also make a UI, a custom UI, but you have to make your own widget. So it gets a little involved. But yeah, so Real 3D. So this is where we'll see AK audio kinetic units or types. Real 3D is a 32-bit float, but like I said, the intermediary is to wrap it around some sort of intermediary class, and then it'll be something different on every, like down in the lower depths, it'll switch based on the platform that you're on. And so these are all, I have 11 parameters. And then you can see the Boolean parameters have a less stuff going on there. And you also give them an index value. So each one gets a little ID, numerical ID. You can, so, and then also this sort of step and fine control. And so you can sort of define what is the crude incremental value and the sort of fine incremental value. And how many decimal places, all that sort of stuff, all the sort of visualization. The other thing that's really interesting is you see the support RTPC type. So this is a different. I think there are 3 or 4 different ways that an RTPC would interact with this value. In my case, I wanted to make them all additive when relevant. Additive means that the RTPC will add its value to the set value, but there are other types here, and I forget exactly which ones. There's one's called exclusive. Part of the challenge that I ran into with this is that the documentation is quite fragmented, and so you have to jump. Like I found myself jumping around different pages over and over again to try to reference back something else that I had to know that was in between the lines of this thing. Like here, for example, this is there's code here. This is you fill in the blank kind of stuff. So there's a lot of fragmentation in the way the documentation is presented. I found that one of the challenges as like a new person into this space. But yeah, so exclusive is one of the other ones, and that's where like the RTPCs will take over effectively the value. So I set those. I think they're default for Boolean values. Bool is also like a very simple type, so you'll oftentimes not see that an intermediary for a Boolean value, and a Boolean value is just one bit, 0 or 1. So a very simple type. The trick with Booleans though is that they are so small, and when memory is allocated for like member parameters, you never allocate memory in like 1 bit. So it's practical to group Booleans at like the end of your class definition. We can kind of look. I kind of did that with my struct, but yeah. So let me go to the params. We're on the parameters, so let's look at more parameters. So here's some more of the boilerplate. So the auto define, like this sort of boilerplate that gets generated has a placeholder parameter. So if you look at the XML, if you look at the whole implementation, it'll have a single parameter up here. So this is one of those things that I thought, oh, such a frustrating part about like making a meta sound, custom meta sound in Unreal is like you're defining your parameters in like 5 different places, and it looks like Wwise is also guilty of this. And so in here, in this parameter definition, we have this like sort of constant ID association with this name, effectively. So it's an AK plugin ID, param ID, whatever this type is, it doesn't matter. But we give them these names, and they just represent this value. And it's just so that we don't like in our XML, we gave each parameter an ID, right? This one's 5, right? Attack onset. And the display name is attack onset time milliseconds. And so attack onset right here is 5, and it just means that we can have this instead of the number 5 and just try, like, we don't have to look up the number 5 every time. So this is like a convenience thing. You could probably get away without using it, but it's sort of part of the build, and so I followed the form, and yeah, it makes sense why.
Gotta follow the convention.
Yeah, you follow the convention. Yeah, innovate later. So here I have the Transient Shaper Pro RTPC params, and these are this struct is effectively the live parameter values, and you can see here that AK. Let me see if I can zoom in here. You can see here that AK real 32 or 32. That's our 32-bit float type, and so you want to adopt the types that they give you so that you don't have any contention when you deploy on different platforms. I also, by the way, stylistically, you're supposed to put the type, the lowercase type. So F meaning float, B meaning bool. You're supposed to put that in front of your parameter names. I sometimes did that, sometimes not. The style stuff is something I'm still getting used to because I'm so used to the Unreal style of doing things. So you'll see some mixed stuff there. But yeah, so then here's the parameters that are accessible to RTPCs, right? And then this would be the structive parameters that aren't. And then we have this sort of parameter class. Let me zoom back out a little bit. And all of this is sort of auto-generated. And so all I have to do is look at the implementation, So let's see, where's the CPP file? There it is at the bottom. Let's move it up here. So I like them together. There we go. Okay, so so here's let's see. We don't care about the constructor, destructor. Right. So here's the one of the constructors for this this class, where you pass in the params, and then the params are grabbed and then cached into this this class. So this is still all boilerplate. I don't have to write any of this, but this is basically what it's doing. Is it's sort of passing those structs that we looked at into this live class, this active class that we will have for the lifetime of the effect. And that's cool. There's a cloning. I didn't even see that. That's neat. You'll see this. I'll talk a little bit about this a little bit later, but see these sort of macros here. AK plugin new. This is part of me learning back again about like regular C++. So there's stuff that I did that probably I need to fix up in my implementation that relate to this. It works right now, but there's like a catch that is like won't reveal itself until later. So here's the init. I don't know actually when init is called. I think that the documentation probably has some diagram for like the function calls when a new effect is instantiated. But it's very similar to a lot of the kinds of inits we've seen before. It passes the block size, or sorry, this is the yeah, I think, what is this? Oh, yes. We'll look at that. So it has the block size, and then it has the block, and this is the scary part. Because it passes all of our parameters, our set of parameters, it passes them as just like a raw pointer to a block of memory. So I'll show you in a bit. We'll see that. But anyway, so we do our little like default implementation, right? Like what are the default values for all of our RTPC values? And then obviously if I had non-RTPC values, then I'd set the default values there as well. All the defaults have to be set in this init. And then there's like a param change handler. And anytime you set changes, you want to sort of flag, hey, the parameters have been changed. And then it has they have this special return type, which has different messages, basically for debugging purposes. So if it fails, or if it like early outs or whatever, you can kind of pass like a message of like why it returned in this way.
It's nice to have a reason instead of just a bool or something that says
exactly. Yeah. And then if you did have 0 blocks, then we set parameter block size and pass this through. But we shouldn't hit that. We shouldn't hit that. But I did. Yeah. Okay. So here's the. Let's see. Should we hit? No, maybe this might be a bug. Maybe this is a bug. I'll have to look into this. It's working. But I'll have to look into this because this set param block size, this is where things get, like I said, it gets kind of crazy. So the parameter block is just a big chunky byte-packed pointer. And so what you need to do is you need to like unpack this chunk of memory. And so then you go through your list of RTPCs in the order of the data layout. And and then you say how big. So you pass the type, read bank data, pass the type, and then the block and the size data, and then what you get is it'll take like, okay, this is a float 32-bit float. So it's going to take 32 bits of the data, and it's going to pass that value directly into the RTPC, and it's going to do that. And then obviously for the bool, it's a single bit. So we grab just 1 bit off the memory chunk. So this is a little bit scarier, but this macro is a huge help, where you just say, okay, you just pass in the actual type you used. And then it just becomes sort of simple boilerplate. But mistakes in this will yield funny results, right? So just be aware of that when building this out.
Just don't make mistakes.
Don't make mistakes. The risk here is really copy paste errors, right? Like I accidentally left the AK real 32 in this one because it wasn't a 32-bit value. Okay, cool. Then we flag our handler, and I assume this is like an ensure check bank data size. It matches the result, right? Like if you had some sort of offset, you'd get some sort of result that spit out, and that's part of the return value on this guy, which ends up being the return value on the init. And then here's our set param function, which I assume is called from the interface or wherever, whatever.
This is when you move one of the sliders. It calls.
Yeah, or maybe it could also be whenever our PC value updates or something like that. This I'm like I said, I'm still unsure about the exact sequence of function calls, but this is the set param, and it'll pass in that param ID we talked about before. And again, we get this sort of raw memory pointer to some unknown value. When you see, that's sort of magnified in a weird way. Okay, when you see this void star, it's kind of like a no type. It's like, I don't know what the type is. Here you go. It's a pointer to something. And you get a param size, and then you have this big switch where it's like, okay, and this is where this work comes into handy, because we got this big switch, and we can use this sort of like readable value instead of 0 or 1 or 2 or whatever, and so we can see, oh, this is the attack gain, and then we know the type that the attack gain is, and then this is where we pass the parameter change to the handler, so we can indicate to the handler, hey, this parameter has updated by index. And then we do that for each of our parameters. I had like 11 parameters, so it was a lot. And this is a little catchy one here too. And that is because under the hood, I'm actually using float values for my Booleans. So the Boolean on the RTPC side is a bool, but functionally it's a float value. So I have this conversion where I'm like, true if greater than half.
Why have you done this?
It was like on my core side, it was like a simplification of the parameter space. It was just easier to sort of generate like widgets if it's like everything was a float. I will explore more specific parameter types on my side. I'm not really like, so far I'm not looking at a lot of different variety in parameters. It's like integer, bools, and floats tend to be like just everything I need. But yeah, so that's a little quirk in my setup. Yeah. Anyways, that's all there, and then and then there's a fallback for like spitting out a invalid parameter. Okay, so I think this is I think this is the one that. Oh no, yes, okay. This is the plugin. This is the plugin itself, right? So, if we look at this here, okay, here again we see this data reading and writing. Where we've got this data writer, we're getting bank parameters, and we're passing this data writer by reference, and then we have this again, right? This is so meta soundy. This kind of thing is we have in meta sound anyway. Write a real 32 function, and then we have write bool for the bools.
Yep.
And get real 32, and then get bool from the set. So, and then, so this is like, I think this is the bank data from the GUI. This is what I'm guessing, because this is the name that we gave in our XML for the property. So that is what I believe this is.
Hey Dan, I gotta bounce out.
Oh yeah, are we real late? Oh yeah, we're at time there.
Yeah,
oh, you guys are all right. Keep going if you want. I'm definitely gonna catch the end of this later.
Yeah,
but,
thanks for
cool
hanging out. Yeah.
I need to ask you if you don't cover it here, then I'm gonna ask you, how do I actually get my hands on this plugin?
So yeah, real quick. Where am I here? We'll do faces real quick here. So we're at the normal end, and I will keep going because there isn't much to talk about. I feel like I'm close here, maybe half an hour or something like that. If you want to hang in there, otherwise, thank you all for joining us. It was really awesome discussion at the start. Really enjoyed it. Okay, so here's some interesting advice that I got, which is. Which I'll get into more depth. But one of the things that this was Aaron's advice actually was because I was sort of spinning out when I compile for Windows because I'm on a Windows machine, right? And so in order to compile the library, my core library for Mac, I have to have a Macintosh. And then if I want to do it for Switch, I need to be a Nintendo development partner and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, how do I do this? How do I get Nintendo's not going to be like, oh yeah, this one guy's going to make some plugins for Wwise. No. And so Aaron's advice was just do your base implementation, like Windows and Mac and maybe iOS or something, the sort of stuff you can do on your desktop platform, which for most of the people, getting the plugin, that's what they're going to be working on, and so do it for that. And then if some company is like, we're making a Switch game and I don't want to use it, then they can reach out to me directly. So I literally just bought a Mac Mini, a used Mac Mini, so that I can do a Mac build of this plugin, 2018 circa. And so the plan is once I can get a Windows and Mac build, I'll register the plugin with Audio Connect because that's apparently required, and tell them which platforms I support. And then after I get registered with Audio Connect, then I can do some kind of distribution. It's probably going to be some kind of I don't know what's going to be. It's going to be some kind of, because there's no marketplace, so it's going to be like Gumroad or something. I don't know. but yeah, I don't know. I have to test it out, so maybe you'll be one of the testers. How's that? Yeah.
I would be more than happy to test it.
Cool. Especially
I'd also
Mac,
be more than happy to give you money too, though, because
I would be happy to get money. I am. I'm looking for money. So this, part of this effect is me proving out this process and seeing if there's a pipeline to be built for this. And then because I've looked at the Wwise stock plugins and found them wanting. So I have lots of ideas about adding effects to that roster. And so I would love to sort of build something where that can happen. But Yeah, I don't know yet. So a great question. I really appreciate that setup.
There you go.
Yeah, and anyone else out there who wants to get their hands on this for your audio engine, let me know. Just reach out to me. Cool.
All right, boys.
All right.
I'm going to take off. Thanks, Dan.
For everyone.
Awesome stuff.
Yep. I'm going to keep going for a little bit longer. But yeah, everyone who has to head out, thanks so much.
All right. Cheers, man.
Bye. All right. Right. So this is the bits that gets the data from the GUID or the GUI, I assume. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is me reading this incorrectly. So yeah, part of me is like just trying to follow the form, and there's obviously some. I don't have like a holistic concept yet. If anyone in the chat does, reach out or make a video and like link it in the chat or something, link it in the comments, etc.
I can see what you mean by being spoiled by Unreal's library of just everything, meta sounds, and just even the macros and
yeah. So let's get into the actual effect. So there's the params. Here's the effect. So let me move this CBP up here.
You can sort that alphabetically, that whole column.
It's too late. I already moved it.
I'm just saying. I highly recommend it.
So here's the effect. You can see it's derived from this AK in place effect interface, plugin interface. Your standard constructor destructor. It's got in it term for termination. This is sort of the startup and the shutdown. It's got a reset call. It's got this sort of git plugin info is just for querying off the plugin class itself. This is really interesting. I didn't have to deal with this, but I have some ideas for effects that probably would use this, and that is how do you deal with time skip in your processor, which is really an interesting part of the interface. And then the execute function is the process call, and you can see it passes in a pointer to the process buffer. It's because this isn't in place. I am assuming that's why we only get the buffer, the input and output buffer in one pointer. You have some boilerplate private member variables, which is a pointer to our effects params. We saw this earlier.
It's what you're filling out when you initialize.
Yeah. And then we have the memory allocator for Wise, and then a sort of context, which is like a bunch of metadata. And then here's a pointer to my actual processor. So this is the transient shaper, and you can see my namespace here. And then a cache for the channel pointers, which is basically a part of the conversion for my buffer type. And so if we look at the C++ of that.
Quick question.
Yeah.
What does SMART stand for?
So that stands for Sound Module and Render Technology. That's
smart.
That's my own thing.
That's cool. No, I like it.
Patent pending. Okay, right. Okay. Hold on a second. I just lost the comments. Okay, cool. Are we good? Okay. Have you tried the Faust audio language? I know someone who is obsessed with it, and that has set me up to never try it out. No, I'm just kidding. No, I've seen one of my old colleagues at Epic was obsessed with it. And so I saw it a little bit, but yeah, I haven't gotten into it myself. So this is actually one of the areas that I made a mistake on, and this is what I've been learning, and that is so in my effect, I have some memory allocation based on in my case it's based on the number of channels that we have. So when I initialize my processor, I look at the number of channels and the number of channels, and then I create like vectors of envelope followers for each channel. And so there's a memory allocation inside of my processor. And that memory allocation happens I was just using the standard library. And so apparently that is like my faux pas here. And what I need to do, and this is sort of like a refactor that I got to go dig through, is I need to basically have my own memory allocation interface so that I can just pass the Wwise allocator into my stuff, and then my stuff will just use the Wwise allocator, and then the memory will be tracked properly and all this sort of stuff. So that's like one of the places I need to improve my original plugin architecture. And I've been researching this week about memory allocation, which is really making my head dizzy. But yeah, that's you see this macro for instantiating a new plugin. This is these are the like factory calls, and so these functions basically create a new effect. And so then we see here's our little constructor with our default null pointers. I don't even know. I don't think there's anything I need to do here for the deconstructor, but because I've just got a bunch of pointers. But
well, if Wwise has its own allocator, you would hope
should be fine, right? Yeah,
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
never used it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any like weird fallout with my situation. So that's something I need to work on. But yeah, so here's the init function, and here's the like the new. So instead of calling new, raw new, or whatever, also, oh yeah, that's the other thing is I was sort of advised away from using like standard library types in the like interface layer. So in this, so that was sort of an interesting thing. Just basically people avoiding me away from the standard library.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of with Unreal too. It's not like we use standard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I have been recommended a standard library implementation, or kind of standard library implementation, called EASTL. And it's made by Electronic Arts, and it's put out there for game developers to use in proxy of the normal C standard library. And so I think I put a link to that in the YouTube description. But yeah, that's you can just search EASTL, and the GitHub will come up. So I'm thinking about maybe even implementing that, like swap, because I do like some of the standard library stuff, you know, and the idea with the EASTL is that it has, I think it's set up for implementing the swap. The other thing is that I've also thought about making the core like have a underlying wrapper, and then actually implementing different platforms. So I don't know. There's some architectural stuff I need to revisit. That especially if I'm trying to build a pipeline. So, like, you know, for example, I could have all of like my array functions as an example, right? Here's my audio buffer. You know, this is from my core library, and I have like a buffer storage class and a buffer view class because I really like that. You know, TArray view is like an awesome thing, and so you know, and I have all these functions, right? This is like the stuff that I was missing, is like scale in place function and all these like sort of buffer operations. So what I could do is like this kind of stuff. I could like make like a wrapper where under the hood it's like, here's the Wwise, functions that I would call.
Yeah.
Here's the Unreal functions but I don't know. So it's like one of those like, oh, should I make like my own independent core and then try to deal with adapting it to whatever my sort of client space is.
So what other like client space? Like you got Unreal and Wwise. Are you gonna do like VST or like?
Well, that's a great question. So Wwise is basically what I did this last week, and I've learned a lot from that. And then Fmod's my next target. So like I'm gonna do an Fmod version of this plugin. I'm also curious about seeing what is it like to implement this in Godot. Is it possible to, do they have an extension type? I don't even know if they have an extension type, but sort of like that kind of thing where it's like, this is a plugin, so it's an extension of an existing engine is what I'm looking at, right? I'm trying to extend an engine. The engine is handling all of the platform stuff. And so it's like, how much of that engine, is part of my stuff? Or is it like, do I have my own little bubble and then I have to deal with, implementing that bubble in all the different potential target platforms? And I have had a studio that reached out, inquiring about, how like what's involved in putting this on a game that is targeting multiple platforms. So
sure.
So it's precious. It's like it's in my mind,
Yeah.
Right. So let's go back to the effect. So this is the nice thing. Like this is where I feel like the work pays off, because if we look at the actual execute function, I'm taking the buffer. I'm getting the number of channels. I'm getting the number of valid frames, which is interesting. The way that Wwise. So Wwise has a max frames size. Which is part of the initialization. We'll go back to the initialization. You can see we have the in format. Where is it? Where's the? Hold on a second. Let me pull this over here. Over on the side here, the last one is the format. You see we have the allocator, the context, the params, and the format, and then the sample rate. I get sample rate from the format. I get from the context. I get the max buffer length, which is the max frame size. And then I also get, and then in format, I get the number of channels. And so, but the actual buffer size may be smaller. I assume this is to do with, because it's an effect, that the execute lifetime is the duration of the sound. That's the sound instance that's playing back. So I assume that the sound instance probably has at the last buffer is some change left. It's not a complete buffer. So you get the valid frames from the actual buffer type. And that I will use to define my actual view size. Then I check. So first of all, I cache these parameters so they're conveniently available, and I have to call back into the buffer for them. And then that also lets me do like a quick check. Do I need to early out? Is this, if it's 0 channels or 0 frames, then I don't need to process anything. Then the parameter change handler. I can check if any of the parameters have changed, which is very convenient. This is what we need in Metasounds, by the way. Metasounds doesn't have this. I always have to create this, which is very frustrating. And this is very handy. So it just has like a little handler for parameter changes, and then I can sort of go, okay, let's get a reference to the parameter set. This parameter set is part of my processor architecture, and it's basically a big list of the storage types for the live parameter values, and then I get the RTPCs, So it's like the current state of the RTPCs. And I just do like one big go. And,
who has time to figure out which
exactly.
parameter it was?
I just set them all, and then it's not a lot of it's not a lot because it's only when they change. It's not a lot. This might be something I might revisit if I had if it was like
core a bit more to
or maybe like some parameters are always used for like RTPCs, and so maybe like they're constantly getting updated. Sure. Maybe there's some, exactly. Anyway, and then we tell the handler that we've changed the parameters. So have they changed? And then they've changed. And so that basically closes the flag out effectively. So reset all parameter changes. Flag reset. And then this is where we cache our parameters, and the reason we do this is because the way that my buffer is organized is it's aligned. So in audio, there are different ways a buffer can be presented. One is interleaved, where you'll sort of round robin which channel for each incremental sample. An aligned buffer means that you have the full frame of one channel, and then the full frame of the next channel, and the full frame of that, and so on and so forth. And so part of the, as I mentioned before, really early on, part of the vectorization, the SIMD optimization, is making sure that your samples are lined up. So having an aligned buffer is just sort of setting things up for optimization down the line. And so part of my structure here is for the view type is I have pointers directly to the start sample of each frame. So I can just jump right in and grab the pointer from, like, say, channel left or whatever, the third channel or whatever it is. Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, effectively, we're looking at update parameters if they've been updated, pass the values over if they've been updated. And then we just set up our pointers from the buffer that we're given. And it's super simple because the buffer that we're given already has that sort of similar paradigm where it's like, here's the channel index. I pass the channel index, get channel, and then I just pass that into my array of, or my vector of channel pointers. And then I create, from that, I create my audio buffer view float type. So the way that I had structured the buffer view, sorry, go back here. So I did a templates type because I was like, maybe it's going to be integer. I don't know. But I have sort of using for specific types. And that includes view float const. And I have an as const conversion. So I can pass const in when it needs to be, and just sort of reconstructs it. The views are really easy to work with and they're cheap because they're not storage types. They're just storing pointers effectively. And then here's my storage type. And then I have get views so I can anyway. So it's super simple on my end. I just create a new view. And I just pass the channel pointers in, num channels and num frames, and that's all the data I need. And then I call process on my function. This is my function, my processor, on that buffer, and it affects, because these are just pointers to the original input buffer, they get processed. So, yeah, this is to me, this is like I said, this is the payoff of doing all the work. This was like 2.5 weeks of just building. Yeah. Actually, I should say the core itself was longer. It was 2 weeks, and then maybe the transient shaper was sort of like the fun bit at the end because I had to build a lot more infrastructure there.
Yeah, you have to test it out and use it in a real scenario. And
yeah. Did I ever? So if you check last week, if y'all interested in the test framework that I built out. But But yeah, so that's my sort of experience with the Wwise, with building a Wwise plugin. And there's a lot of boilerplate that it said. One thing that I wanted to mention before we end. Where was my? Here we go. So this is the. Let me go back in here. So this is the. So one of the things I ended up doing is I made my own batch files for these Python scripts that need to be called, because I just kept forgetting the arguments, and
yeah,
and it's like one of those things where it's just like you're in the PowerShell and you're just like, I don't remember what the argument is. So I just made batch files to keep it simple, and you have to call pre-make and then build. So if for example, let me do where was our live stream demo. So what pre-make does is I should talk about these. So this bundle template and this pre-make Lua script, pre-make plugin Lua script. These are the bundle template is like the metadata for your plugin. It was automatically generated when we ran the WP Python new script, but this needs to be tweaked. I would suggest tweaking it. It's a little JSON file, and then the Lua plugin, the Lua script.
It's getting late.
I know, right? This is why I can't go over 2 hours. So the Lua script is where you do all your linking. So if we look at mine, this is good to look at. So first of all, let's take a look at my pre-make Lua script, and this is where I link. My include directories for my SmartCore stuff. This is this would be similar to your C# build file in the UBT stuff.
Declare your dependencies.
Declare your dependencies. This is where we include specific files based on the type. There's static, there's shared, and there's authoring. This is where you link to your modules, etc., and where your libraries can be found. So this is kind of nice, is that I can sort of set up the where the libraries can be found, and I don't have to constantly move them over. And then, so that's the pre-mix. So that has to be done if you're linking in your own stuff. If you're not, then you can just build directly in the Wwise code base. And then the bundle, when you call, we do pre-make, which sets this up. This, I think it runs. And then the build. So the pre-make also generates these solution files. So I've been working off of this VC 17.0, but that's what pre-make does. And then build builds the files, and then package generates these things, all of these packaging elements, and then generates the bundle JSON file. And this JSON file is important. This is the generated version of the. It's like a one line. It's super annoying to look at. Hold on, Visual Studio. Chill out, Visual Studio. Okay, so this is one line version of what the bundle template JSON file contains, and then this is the last thing that I think is annoying that I'll complain about. Come on, Visual Studio, move the window. Okay, so here's all the metadata for my plugin, right? And obviously there's stuff that I haven't touched here. And this is where it would all be edited. And then this gets, when you call generate, it creates the bundle JSON that then gets used when you install the plugin with the Wwise front end. But this is my logo. This is a base 64 URL. It's basically like a web format for like building images with like a character sequence. It's the worst thing. You have to find some custom generator to like intake your file type. And so this is like a pain in the butt to get that little icon. Very silly, in my opinion. But you know, I don't make the rules. So yeah, that's sort of the bits. And then I made these batch files just for convenience. Originally, I had a single batch file that did all of them, but then I realized sometimes I just wanted to do like a couple of them. I didn't always want to package and generate everything every time. And it also helped me like, here I can show one of these. It's like very simple. Oh, I actually ran it. That's fine. Yeah, open it code. You know, there's nothing special about them. They're just literally just a couple of commands. Nice. So I keep it simple there. But yeah, so that's like those were like little helpers that I felt like making little batch files to like do this setup. Because then what happens now is like every time I make like some significant change, I could just run this batch sequence and it just regenerates all of my little elements here. And then I go back into the plugin and reinstall it and that sort of thing. The last JSON file, which I haven't touched, is additional artifacts. And this is if you need to link in some loose files to your sort of bundle. So yeah, that's it. That's the Wwise plugins.
It's cool.
We made it.
Yeah.
Any yeah, so much boilerplate. Yeah, it is a lot of boilerplate. And Guido, this was one of the things that was really frustrating to me is that like actually I can take this down now. Is that the documentation is so fragmented that like I can only understand the whole picture if I'm jumping around in different files and I'm trying to remember where files skip, like some of the documentation skips some section and I gotta go back to this other thing that maybe sort of covers that section, or I'm like just jumping into like specific parts of the like just raw documentation of like, you know, like the description or some of the metadata and like what are the values that are valid values, you know. So it's a lot. I feel like that's where, you know, working on like the little batch files, it's just little quality of life savers. But you know, a lot of this is me sort of bumbling through it. So I don't know if there's a better way or if, you know, I'm doing something ridiculous and no one's told me. Because I'm kind of doing this on my own right now. So, yeah. Yeah, learning the languages, it is a little bit, it's like a little bit extra. Stephen mentioned this, or like coming up, you know, there's the thing that we want to do, and then there's the thing we have to do to get there. Yeah. Yeah, Mark, I don't know. It's like a piano, and it sort of looks like an M. Musicianeer was like has been my sort of doing business as for a really long time. But it's like, you know, it's like a piano with like little meters on top, and then it's reminiscent of an M. That's sort of the best description I can give you for that. Cool. Yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, awesome. Pilar, you're checking out GD script and Godot. One of these days we're gonna talk about Godot. I know that Anna's want to do a Godot thing. You've done something in Godot, so I'm curious and interested and might jump in for a stream. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, everybody. I think this buttons it up. We had a pretty good audience. I feel like the chat's been moving, and it was really fun discussion sort of early on about, I mean, in so much as like the anxiety of the commercial industry is fun. But yeah, cool. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you next time. I don't know when that's going to be. We never know for sure. We just hope. There's what we want, and then what we have to do to get there, right? And cool. I don't know. Yeah, we're done. Okay. Bye bye.
Yeah.